Now, welcome back to the best Python course on the planet right now. And in this tutorial, we're going to talk something about what we call variables. Now, variables are just like containers for storing data values. Now, before I try to do example of how variable looks like, I want you to take something from this video you are learning so far. Like, please again, try your best to practice every day. At least try to write. Use like 10 minutes of your time to not 10, like 30 minutes of your time to practice what you've learned throughout the video, so that you'll be able to get the knowledge so quick and so faster. Yeah, because in programming, if you don't practice more time, you forget a lot of syntaxes or we call the programming syntax. But every programming language has its own syntax. So Python has its own syntax, Java has its own syntax. So the more you practice, the more you be better. Okay. So now let's come back to our lesson, which is called variable. As I told you, variables are just like containers for storing data. And when you creating a variable, you should know that Python has no command for declaring any variable. And a variable also can be created the moment you first assign a value to it. So let me show you an example. So we talk about this print and which printed our name. Yeah. Now let me try to pull this thing down and let's talk about variable. Now let's take x is equal to 5. Perfect. Now this x here, as you could see, is what we call the variable, which has been assigned a number 5. Now this is what is happening. When this x stores this x is kind of behave like a label in the computer memory. So let's use a real life example. Like we have a bottle, which we have water in it. That's what we call a bottle of water. So when you have a bottle, the bottle itself is the variable. And what is stored in the bottle is water. So this is the bottle, this is our water. But here we are represented as what? A label x. And this label has a number being stored in it as 5. Now, one thing you should know that computers don't understand this kind of things we are just writing here. Excuse me, what computers understand is binaries like 0s and 1. So before this is stored in our label x, it converts this number to 0 and 1s before it will be able to store this in our x. So now we have x to be our variable, which we have this in it. So we can also declare more variables like y is equal to, let's say, a string John. No, I don't want this to print, so let me comment. I know you've learned comment, so you can comment this out. And now, when I want to display any of this on the screen, we use the print function, as I've told you already. We just type print. Then what do we want to print out? X, we want this 5 to be displayed on the screen for us. So you just type x. Perfect. Then run your code. Now, when we print x, we had 5 because we know that 5 is already what? Stored in x for us. Now, variables do not need to be declared with any particular type. And you can even change type after they have been set. Imagine I've typed this to be 5. Then I come here and I use x again and store a different figure 7. Now, this is what is going to happen. This x is being updated to 7 because first it was stored by the figure 5, and now we've changed to 7. So now when we print x on the screen, we are no more going to see 5, we are going to see 7. Now let's try it and see. Let's run our code. Now perfect. Now you could see 7 right here. Because, as I told you, it can change after it has even been set. So I first store 5 in x. Now I've updated it with number 7. So you can update it with any other number again. Let's say, let's put 12 here. Perfect. And when I run the code again, what am I going to see again? Number 12. So this is one thing I want you to put into your head. Yeah. So now In Python, we have something, a variable called casting. So if you want to specify a specific data type of a variable, this can be done by doing casting. Now, look at these three numbers here. Let's say we have y also to be 3. Let me clear this. Then let's use alphabet Z and store the same 3 to it. Then let me delete this ones. Then let's change this 5 to 3. Now x is 3, y is 3, z is 3. Now this is where, if you want to do casting, we use casting in variables to do. So this in Python is an integer. This is an integer. We have something we call float. When you get to the data types, I'm going to explain all those to you. Now, when I type 3.0, this becomes what? A float number. Because float always have decimals, in forms of decimal numbers, right? Yeah. So 3.0. Perfect. So this becomes a float. This is an integer. This is an integer. Now, we can use this casting to be able to print different stuff on our console. Now I can change this to a string. Okay. So when you're doing casting, you use string. It is the short form. Then put this into brackets. Perfect. Now when I print x, it's not going to display 3. It's going to display 3 but with what a quotation marks. Let's try it and see. Perfect. Now it's already displayed a 3, but it takes this as a string. So imagine I want to add something to it, but which is what we are going to do in our upcoming video when we talk about more about strings. Now this doesn't see it as what an integer again. It sees this as what a string. So if I'm to print the type, okay, the type of x right now, type typ into bracket. Perfect. Then I'm to print this type of x out. This is what we are going to see. Now it is telling us our class is what a string, because we've cast this what integer to be a string. So this is what we do, or how the term we use in Python called casting. Now when we print the type of y, let's see what it gives us. Now x is a string. Now let's try to print type y. Control R. Now it's what the class is of an integer. So which y is an integer. When we print z, we're also going to get what? An integer. Z also printed an integer. Now let me try to change this into a float. Perfect. And let's wrap it with what? Our parentheses. And now let's try to print z again, or z as people would say. And now our class has changed from integer to what? A floating number. So these are all data types in Python, but in this format we call it what? Casting in Python programming. I hope you've gotten some knowledge about this. Now, you've seen how to do casting. You know how to assign what numbers or words to a variable, or how to create a variable in Python. I want you to go to the advanced level of working with variables. I want you to explain some stuff here to you. Now, in declaring the variable, well, it has some short names like x, y, z. But in a more descriptive name, for people to see what you're trying to do, mostly people use, this is something I want you to know. Like if you want to give somebody a name, yeah, you can use name. Like when it's talking about volume of maybe a gas cylinder, or let's say an age of somebody, you can use different variable names for it. But you should know these 4 rules I'm going to show you. Like a variable name must always start with a letter or an underscore character. Which one? Or a variable name can start with also a number. It can also have or contain numeric, alphabetical, and underscore. And also you should also notice that variables are case sensitive. Okay, so age should be different from age or age. There are 3 different kind of things you need to know. Now, so his example, I'm going to show you example. Let me try to clear all these things we just did and show you. This variable video is taking a bit long because I want you to know everything about variable and how to tackle everything when you are trying to write a variable in your code. So, my var is equal to, let's say, John. Perfect. My v underscore var is equal to the same John. Now, let me add the third one to my var is equal to John. Perfect. Now look at these 3 variables. These are legal way of writing a variable. This is also a legal way of writing a variable. But just look at this, to my var or var. You will see the computer or the interpreter of this Python programming language has given us a warning here. End of statement expected. Because this is a unique number in Python, it's giving us an error here. And what is that error? 1 error, 2 warnings, and 2 typo. When we highlight these errors, so now when you're coding in program like Python, you also notice this corner tab here, right here. You should be able to click on and know actually. So end of statement expected on line 6. It's trying to or it's expecting something, but actually what it's trying to tell us that we've made a mistake. Anytime you see kind of a right erase line here, you should know that there's a problem with your code, yeah, which you're going to tackle a lot of errors alongside these lessons or this tutorial. But look at here. I told you that when we are naming a variable, you should start with what? A number. Okay? It cannot start with a number. That is how the interpreter is being coded to be able to interpret everything we code in the code editor. So please make sure these are 2 legal ways. You can name your variable like this. You can do this, but please don't start with a number. Okay? Yeah. Then this type of naming a Python is what we call the camel case. Now let me show you how we declare camel case variable, which is my var NAM equals to, let's say, 6. What is happening here? This is the camel case naming variables in Python. We start with a small letter for one word. We start with a capital for another word and a capital for another word. So that's how we name, or if you want to declare variable, this is called a camel case variable naming. Then we have one called a Pascal naming, which means every word should start with a capital. So my var name. Exactly. So this one we put 8. So this is what the Pascal naming in Python programming. So when you are trying to declare variable, so M, which is the capital, V should be capital, L should be capital for each word you are trying to write as a variable. Hope it's clear. And we have the snake case variable name here, which is so simple. All you need to do is my underscore var underscore name changes. So this is what the camel case, the Pascal naming, and the snake case. So actually this is all you need to know about variables. So as long as we go throughout the best Python course on the planet, okay, you're going to implement all what you are learning. As I told you, I'm trying to be slow to explain things to you so that you get all the knowledge about this. So don't waste much of our time. This brings us to the end of variable content. Okay, so see you in our next video as we talk more. When you bring up a new topic, we are going to learn. I'm not going to disclose to you. Just get something to eat, get your coffee, try to practice more. See you in the next video. We are going to talk more about strings. I didn't want to tell you, but I've already told you. So prepare and let's meet in our next lesson as we talk about strings in Python.